major changes in the international condition over the past year, and we take a look at some of that with the Boysian scholar, Professor Anthony Monteiro of the Philadelphia Free School. We spoke with him via Skype from Philadelphia on Friday. Professor Monteiro, it's a pleasure to have you, and Happy New Year as we take a look back to see the slipping grip of U.S. hegemony on the world over the past year, how much sliding it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you very much. Same to you.
Thanks.
As we approach the new year, I guess one of the most important questions for this upcoming year is what will become of the world order as constructed by U.S. neoliberals and neoconservatives. What is becoming of that world? And are we entering a new, as some would call it, multipolar world? And I think we have to be very careful in using that language, suggesting that maybe it is nirvana when it is not. Multipolarity does suggest the fragmenting of the old order, but as Gramsci said, the new has not yet been born.
Right. And we don't know what it's going to look like either yet, but we're getting some shadows or shapes coming into place. We have the BRICS as the largest one, a bunch of multilateral organizations, including the world's largest one at the moment, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. Looking around Latin America, of course, we have the CELAC and Mercosur and UNASUR and et cetera, replacing the old order like the OAS there, the AU having replaced the, the African, I forget what the former colonial organization was called even, it's been so long now. You have still the bourgeois form in Europe, the EU, and whatever is coming in Eurasia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, a lot of people talk of the global South as a single thing. In fact, it is itself multipoles or multipolarity.
Right.
And but nonetheless, there's reason to be in some ways optimistic about the future. And what is the future that we should be optimistic about? One, creating circumstances where the United States cannot do what it wants, cannot bully the world, and cannot bully the global South and the Asian landmass going from what the British and the colonialists call the Middle East to Korea and Japan. So, I mean, there are reasons for optimism. We have not seen this in modern history. However, we have a lot of hurdles to cross before we're at this new world order, not just a multipolar world, but a new world order. And that suggests, I think, Don, that on a global scale, the discussion about economic models, that is the capitalist neoliberal model versus a new socialist model appropriate to world developments, to technological developments, to very interestingly, the nature of the state in various countries. And I think what the majority of humanity is aspiring to is a democratic world system, unlike the system of colonial imperial hegemony. And I think if there are great statesmen and stateswomen and intellectuals and politicians who can join with the great mass of people in imagining a democratic world order, a world order of peace and development. I think that's what's on the table. Again, these are very practical questions, which indeed do carry with them profound ideological and political questions. That's what I think the challenge is for us. If you wish, we could talk about how the U.S. people must face these new challenges.
Before we get to that, just in terms of dissecting it a little bit, one of the big drivers here, of course, is the contradiction between the goals, aspirations, and needs of the elite in the West, the United States and EU, Japan, wherever the group that's running that whole chunk of the world actually resides. And the levying of their power, reaching into the whole world, and then starting to punish people with sanctions, particularly around the world, creating so many states that became pariahs to the center that you actually have a league of pariahs, without the pejorative, of course, who are forced to look to each other for the solution to their problems. And that's a big driver. And then you had the ideological acknowledgement of this, I think, in a way, both in Hugo Chavez saying, we're going to help you develop. We don't care what your political system is. We don't care what you do inside your country. Here's some oil, at a bargain, and to invest in your thing, etc. And China, the same thing. Win-win. We don't care. You run your country. We'll run ours. Let's make money together. This is kind of the glue of what's coming up in a way. And it allows for a diversity and the kind of democratic, thing that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. And of course, uppermost question of war and peace. And, the issue of war and peace is misunderstood by a lot of people who equate the question of peace with pacifism. Mm. Peace is active resistance to imperialist wars.
Right.
Imperialist wars against former colonial countries, the mass of Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And resisting war is a global human concern. There is no way forward as long as the hammer of war is over the heads of the people of the world. Yeah. Now, I think in 2022 in particular, that the World United Front Against War has begun to take form. And as to the American people, and here we can be, in a sense, realistic, but signs of optimism. If, in fact, as I am suggesting, the major international question before humanity is the question of war and peace, it is a positive thing that maybe the majority of American people, maybe for the first time since the end of World War II, have an attitude against war. The nation is war exhausted. It's war depleted. The people living standards are as low as they were at the depths of the Great Recession of 2008. The people don't want war. There's a sizable group within the Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives that would vote to constrain spending in Ukraine. But this is the beginning of the crystallization of, at least at the level of elected national officials, an anti-war bloc. This cannot be taken lightly.
And it's the first time in a very long time. We'll come back to this next week. For the first week of the year, we could certainly continue to look at how things have developed over the past 12 months. Professor Monteiro, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Don.
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.